live from beautiful, sunny today, Bristol, Tennessee. We are braver than the rest. We had a nice little reprieve. We've had a week off.
Yep.
It's been great. I'm going to tell you a secret. During that week, we were on vacation, and I didn't listen to the news. I didn't watch the news. I didn't pay any attention to politics, nothing. And it was glorious.
I can only imagine. I haven't taken a break from politics in I don't know how long. I plan to. I'm going to start doing, you know who Dave Rubin is?
Dave Rubin. Did he invent the sandwich?
No, but he's a political
Okay. Because I like him already.
Yeah. And so what he does is it's like August or September.
Okay.
He has a complete month and he runs a big YouTube channel and all that kind of stuff. He's a huge personality. He takes a complete month off. Doesn't do anything.
I'm down.
Yeah. I
could do that.
I'll be ready for it eventually, but I think for me, I don't plan on taking much of a break until I get through Inauguration Day. That's because there's going to be so much stuff that happens between Election Day and Inauguration Day.
Speaking of which, do you think? So first of all, I want to talk about the concept of Election Day never happening tonight a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and bear with me because I think that is the final straw, the final thing that they can pull out of their sleeve to keep things from being normal. But you don't have that pulled up yet, right? For the masses to see?
No, not yet.
Okay.
No, not yet.
But I do want to touch on this because we were in the state of Washington, not DC. We were in the state of Washington last week in the Pacific Northwest and had a great time. It is interesting to see how incredibly different things are there than they are here, than they are in North Carolina, than they are like every state, every population group has their own thing. They just glom onto. And out there it was, the stores are still in the windows of the stores in the city that we were in, they still have BLM. They still have, so it's kind of like, I didn't feel like it was my job to inform them. I wanted to, but I didn't feel like I had to. I felt like, whatever, if that's the cross you're going to die on as a business, so be it. I will tell you, I didn't buy coffee from them because of it. Right.
You're right.
But
I have to change our cameras. I'm sorry. Keep talking. But
so it was like this. It really made it abundantly clear to me why the Electoral College is so incredibly important.
Yes.
The thing that they're trying to get rid of, right, is so incredibly important because if you've got a large group of people in close proximity drinking the same water, they start to think alike.
Oh, yeah. The hive mindset's real. I mean, we've seen it in every major city, but it somewhat happens. I mean, if you look at rural America, I mean, we people, birds of a feather flock together. I mean, that's really what it is.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody goes to see Morgan Wallen, like it's, or whatever it is. It's like,
well, and the old adage that you're the average of the top 5 people that you hang out with. And so when that hive mindset takes hold, even in your little group, it starts to spread. It starts to spread. And
that's right.
Yeah.
And so we saw it firsthand. And in fact, my son, he's 11 and he noticed some things that, I mean, 11-year-olds shouldn't notice guys wearing dresses, but he did. And so we had this nice discussion on like, hey, this is why we have an electoral college. And I was able to walk him through how, right now, and you take the major cities across America and the way that they vote, they dominate the voting landscape. We don't have a voice here.
Yeah.
Right? So Nashville has a voice. We don't have a voice. Like, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The population is so skewed. And that's why it's so important to have this so that the smaller communities, the people that are outside of this major metropolitan hub actually matter and they have a voice. And because they do think differently. They're more practical. They don't, it's like a woman from New York City wrote the Des Moines Register. I remember this when I was a kid. There were massive floods, and she wrote the New York, or from New York, wrote the Des Moines Register. Why don't these stupid farmers just put a tarp over their fields? And so, in response, a farmer sent her a picture of a field and said, "You supply the tarp."
Right.
Right? Like, because they just don't get it. They just, it's not that they're stupid.
Well, no, but you're you almost become institutionalized in those types of whether it's New York or it's out in Seattle or wherever it happens to be, and so I've watched commentators. They'll go out and interview folks, just man on the street interviews, and say, "What are you going to do?"
I would love
if
to
the
do
water.
some of those.
Yeah, me too. I really need to. It's hard around here because pretty much everybody. It's the similar concept.
Yep, hive mentality. We all think the same way. Like, what would you do? Oh, I'd just do rain barrel, and I would, or whatever. Right?
We're deep red territory here.
Yeah, it's we're too redneck for
right. We need to travel outside the area to get that.
Yeah,
but no, they ask these people, "What are you going to do if the water were to to shut off, or what would you do in an emergency situation?" Natural disaster, and they say, "Well, I would probably just, I would go down to the store and get the food. I would go to the grocery store and get the food."
Right.
It's like, what are you talking about? What do you mean the grocery stores are going to be empty? They'll just keep putting more food in it, and it's like you have no idea how this is actually going to work.
Or like you lose power in the water. Both are bad, and they're like, "Well, I just boil the water."
Right.
Well,
yeah,
not gonna be so. You don't quite get this, dude.
Right.
It's not ringing true.
Exactly.
So, but yeah, it is fascinating. And when we were out there, there were a few moments of internal anger. I felt deep, like, oh, this just makes me mad. That the agenda is so in your face. The rainbow, everything's rainbow, and everything's, and then we were sitting down at this foofy bistro, my wife and I and the kids. I never take your kids to a bistro. The word bistro and children they just should never exist together, right?
Right.
But we were sitting there and I was listening to these two middle-aged women next to us. I was eavesdropping. It wasn't right, but it doesn't matter. I did it, right? So, and one was talking about how when they prayed for me, I was healed, like instantly. And it totally took it took this deep-seated feeling of frustration, sadness, all the things, because we're in a liberal hub. I mean, there was one or two Trump signs that I saw. We were there for 9 days, and everything else was Harris. I mean, it was like, just, okay, this is lost. Why bother campaigning?
But they're saying, though, not to get too sidetracked on it, but there are a lot of folks who do that because their neighbors, they know the repercussions of saying that they support Trump, so they'll stick a Harris sign out there, but that ain't the way they're going to be voting.
That's right.
And not that I think Washington is going to be red.
No, it won't. But you're right. There's a lot of people that are total closet vote, like total closet. I mean, but that moment made me go, you know what? These are people. They're just people. And God moves on them just like he's moved on me, right? And it's not too late, no matter what happens here in the next week, right? It's never too late. But leading up to that week, and you brought this out, and it's, man alive, you don't realize until you completely disconnect. And the fact that you're listening to the show right now tells me you haven't disconnected, like you're in. But there is we talk about sad. We talk about doing the research that we do and how sad and how just heavy you feel this weight of, like, you feel insignificant. You feel small. You feel like it's too much for you to fight against. It's, all of these different emotions. Then comes an election, which will age you 2 to 5 years in that 9-month span if you're not careful.
Oh, yeah.
And they've actually come out with, it's a syndrome, is what it is. It's an anxiety election stress disorder is what they call it. and there's a lot of articles on this, but American voters suffer increased anxiety due to election stress disorder. 53% of Americans.
Yeah. It's really wild. And this is out of the Wall Street Journal. And they were quoting, it was we just looked at it a second ago. Where did it come from? So a survey out of AM/FM, a residential mental health treatment system, provided an analysis of 2,000 Americans and found that 22% of those surveyed said that the coverage of the election was having a deleterious impact on their mental health. 42% said that they were worried their guy would not win come election day. Another 54% were worried about what would happen after the election, and 57% feel that the negative messaging has played a role in making them stress out.
Now, I'm going to say this because I think this is important. I think everybody in some capacity is a little bit concerned about what's going to happen after this election.
Sure.
You know, you've got one group that claim insurrection and claim that Trump wasn't going to peacefully transfer power, who have made the statement that they're not going to peacefully transfer power. They've been asked the question and the answer is yes, but then you've got their party staples saying, you know, like Raskin said back in August, right?
Yeah.
Where he comes out with this, like, you know, it's going to be up to us basically to tell all these MAGA voters that they got it wrong.
Here, I've actually got that video. We can play that one for everybody.
Nice work.
Here we go. Listen to it straight from him. Oop. X has got to fix their video player. I have more trouble out of the X video player.
What can be put into the Constitution can slip away from you very quickly. And the greatest example going on right now before our very eyes is Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, which they're just disappearing with a magic wand, as if it doesn't exist, even though it could not be clearer what it's stating. And so, you know, they want to kick it to Congress, so it's going to be up to us on January 6, 2025, to tell the rampaging Trump mobs that he's disqualified. And then we need bodyguards for everybody in Civil War conditions, all because the 9 justices, not all of them, but these justices who have not many cases to look at every year, not that much work to do, a huge staff, great protection, simply do not want to do their job and interpret what the great 14th Amendment means. And I'm glad.
So it's up to us.
Right. Which is him. If you think about it, it's the irony, the hypocrisy that they were talking about Trump not wanting to certify the election. And
right.
What they are saying now is, if Trump's elected, we're not going to certify
the election. Yeah.
We're going to do the same thing.
How incredibly.
You know, I said this in one of my Continue Freedom podcast. By the way, I need to shout out more of my Continue Freedom podcast.
Yeah. Well, actually, next week.
Yeah. Next week we're doing a simulcast.
Yeah.
Braver Than the Rest, Continue Freedom. We're going to have the crew here, and we're going to do an actual debate, or not a debate night, election night live stream simulcast.
Yeah, the debate night was fun.
That was fun.
Election results rolling in is going to be.
It's going to be dicey, but but I said it in one of my other podcasts that when they accuse Donald Trump of something, or they accuse conservatives of something, Republicans, whatever, look around. Got it. You're getting it from an MSNBC, ABC, CBS anchor. Look around and see what Democrat, what member of that particular party is doing the very thing that they are accusing Donald Trump of.
Always. 99% of the time. If they don't do it, they're going to.
Yep.
Right? They're forecasting their nefarious act by projecting it onto somebody else.
Correct.
You know,
but it's just a bait and switch, right? I mean, smoke screen, smoke and mirrors, use whichever. Yeah, whatever you want to call it.
But I did want to touch more on this election disorder because it's a real thing. I mean, I know we had, Ben was on, and Ben, if you're I know you were watching. If you're listening, we miss you tonight, buddy. But he shared with how he had a moment with God where it was like, just get closer to me. Don't worry about this stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. Just get closer to him. Don't worry about this stuff. Vanderbilt University did an article on this, and they basically, I mean, it's important enough that Vanderbilt's putting out an article on it. You know, like
Well, that multiple people have. I mean, we got this one from the post millennial. You're talking about the one, well, it wasn't the post millennial that did it, but
yeah, Psychology
Yeah.
Today or whatever it is.
Yeah.
The American Psychological Association has a big article on it. But I like what Vandy said, not just because they beat Bama.
All right, that was great though.
But I like what they said.
pretty good.
The first one is focus on what you have control over. Politics isn't one of them, right? So,
To a certain degree.
well, yeah, you can vote, people in and out, but
Yeah.
focus on what you can control. Just focus on you. Stop with media consumption. Limit that media consumption. I'm going to tell you, last week, not listening to the voices was very freeing for me, for my family, for my soul. Connect with those who give you support. Now, this, obviously, if you're so tore up over the elections that you need support, you might need a little more than just friendship and comfort. You might need some special help. But and they go on to say engage in calming techniques like meditation and whatever. How about prayer, fasting? Get back to the things that work, and remain hopeful. Hope deferred makes the heart sick. And for those of you that are going through some things right now and feeling a little bit overwhelmed with who's going to win and the numbers, and yes, we can sit back and go, oh man, they're neck and neck. Or if you look at this poll, they're, Trump's clearly in the lead. Or if you look at the money lines, like you were talking about earlier, this is a whole new thing where people are betting on the election.
Oh yeah.
And they're betting pretty heavy in the Trump camp.
Oh yeah. 66% is what the poly market is saying. So with Kamala Harris at 34.3, and that's fluctuated anywhere from 64 to 66. I've seen it. It ebbs and flows a bit, but you can see that kind of crossover that has happened here recently. I mean, Joe Biden had zero chance, and now it climbs up with Kamala, the hype, and now the hype is wearing off.
Well, and you think about like so wasn't August the Joy campaign, like where they're like, oh, Joy,
Joy, and then they realized
it was like that's not working.
No, well, they realized that it's the same old messaging. That Joy mess was just a temporary inject into the system, right? And it gave them a little bump, and now it's just it's tanking because.
And I'm going to tell you this: it's going to continue to tank as long as Tim Walz has a microphone.
Yeah.
Every time.
Well, and Joe Biden. I mean, Joe Biden coming out and calling everybody garbage.
Yeah.
Although, how brilliant was Donald Trump rolling in a garbage truck?
Genius.
That was brilliant.
Genius. I mean, the guy's a genius.
Yeah.
I watched a video of him trolling her. She was doing a speech, and he just listened. And, he counted like, oh, that's 37 thank yous. Tweet, too many thank yous, or whatever. Like, he's just spot on with this stuff.
Can I go back to a point you had made before, though?
Yeah.
You had said that we were talking about getting back to, prayer, fasting, community, being able to kind of weather these political storms. And I think that that's important for people, principled people, because this fight doesn't just it hypes up at the election season, but this is a long haul fight. If we're going to, for us, we want to get back to conservative Christian values in our country and have that injected into our system rather than this stuff that's moving to the left. We have to get, and I work on this myself because, like I say, when we consume this content all the time, your mind can go to that very heavy laden place, and I realize that to do this, what we do, sit here and talk about it, research it, get, down to the nuts and bolts of all this, you have to have longevity. And it's kind of like training for, a marathon or training for any sort of endurance sport. But it's for your soul, and it's for your mental health, and it's for your emotional health, and all that and for the health of your relationships.
Yeah, well, I mean, in ministry, you have a sabbatical, right? Every 7 years, and churches, hear me, if you're a pastor listening, well, no, if you're an elder listening or a leader, you need to take some time every 7 years to refresh your soul. And you need, if you're a lay person or somebody in ministry that's got some strings, make sure your pastor is getting that, because it's so important. It's a biblical principle of allowing that rest, a season of rest. And so we definitely need to do that. I think for us, it is so incredibly important for your soul when all you do is research Vanguard and BlackRock, and you just see the tentacles of the enemy. that are stretching in. I mean, his fingerprint is global in everything at this point. It's in everything.
Oh yeah.
And it feels overwhelming. The dark feels overwhelming. But you can go back to those moments where God said, you know, like in Philippians 4, right, where he says, "Be anxious for nothing, but in all things with prayer and supplications, make your petitions known." Pray. Let me know. Talk to me about it. You know, in Isaiah, I'll just pull up a couple. In Isaiah, there's one. You know, don't be afraid, don't be discouraged. See, let me pull some more up because I think this is probably valid.
Yeah, but I mean, while you're looking at it, I'll yap for a second. But it is like we have to do our due diligence. You know, we were taught as well. So we have responsibilities in this world and responsibilities in our country. We put our faith and confidence in God, but we do what we can on this earth, and we fulfill our responsibilities.
Yeah, we don't
You know,
Jesus take the wheel.
Yeah.
I mean, that,
right,
you know,
right, right. Well, and that's what we were saying before. You know, in the last election, there were 40 million people who were Christians. Now, as we were saying, you know,
Yeah.
the joke that my mom makes is, you know, the guy that goes to church and says, "Oh, I'm never going back to that church." Well, why not? Well, all they ever sing is "Oh Holy Night" and "Up from the Grave He Arose."
Yeah, the two times Easter and Christmas.
He's going to church, Easter
That's right.
and Christmas, and that's it. But you know, that doesn't mean they're not Christians. But I'm just saying that there are some pretty lukewarm folks out there.
Yeah.
But there's 40 million of them. And if 40 million people who have that, obviously they believe that, so they have those principles at the core of their existence, of the core of their belief system. And then if any of those 40 million people complain or gripe about the direction of the country, well, the last election was won by 40,000 votes.
Yeah. Yeah. If they would have came out, it would have been different.
Right. And that's what is needed in this next election.
Well, and I think
everybody come out.
A lot of times, and there are people that would have this argument of, you know, the church has nothing to do with politics, right? There's a separation of church and state. And I get where you're coming from. However, you know, we've taken this thing we call Christianity and make it all about the individual with God, me and God. It's just me and God, where time after time after time in Scripture, it's the nation. I mean, when you think about this, you can't look at, you know, God's relationship with Abraham is probably one of the easiest ones to recognize, because this is Israel, right? And God proclaims him as, you know, this is the beginning of something so much bigger. You are the beginning of something so much bigger. And God, since that point, has consumed himself with nations. He's a nation builder. And so he recognizes people groups as much as he does the individual. And he is concerned about elections. He's the one that appoints. He's the one that does this stuff. And so we can't really, you have to be very careful in the church, because you don't want the political part of it to drive people off. And this was this is like, oh, you preach too much about politics, or you're too pro-Trump, or no. When I was in there, I wasn't pro anybody except Christ. Yeah. And what he says. And I don't understand how you, as a believer in Christ, can go, hey, you know what? I'm gonna vote pro-abortion, pro-choice, right? No, you're not, because that's actually satanic.
Yeah.
Call it what it is, right? It's sacrificing to the enemy. And so these are the things but then you become, well, you're pro-Trump because you're pro-life. Well, I didn't say anything about Trump. I said everything about Jesus. And sometimes it's very hard and it gets skewed. But go ahead.
There has to be there's a moral foundation in every society. And in a constitutional representative republic, we get to decide what that moral foundation is. And if people want something that is more Judeo-Christian principle based, as the founding fathers did, which we've obviously moved them farther away from, then Christians have the ability to change that. Milton Friedman said that it's not that we have to go in and change everybody in Congress. He said in his very high-pitched voice, no, I beg your pardon. All you have to do is make it politically profitable for the wrong people to do the right thing.
Boom.
Because they will do it if we tell them to do it.
Right.
Because they want to get reelected.
If they know that they're out for voting the way that the people don't want them to, they're going to vote. Even if they don't believe it, they're going to vote.
Yeah.
According to the money.
Right. And if 40 million people come out and vote, I mean,
yeah,
great day in the morning.
yep. And so, listen, if you're a believer, and there are people that I know that are like, I'm not going to vote. It's a waste of time. It's whatever. And it's like, okay, I get where you're coming from. It can be discouraging. The election stress disorder thing kicking in and all that. You just feel overwhelmed by it all. Vote anyway.
Yeah.
And don't vote your feelings. Vote his facts. Right? Oh, that's a good quote. We need to start making T-shirts. We really do.
we do.
Don't vote your feelings. Vote his facts. Yeah. And his facts are that he's got plans.
Yeah.
And he's got a moral code. And he will bless the nation that blesses Israel. And he will bless the nation whose God is the Lord. And so as long as we live under the umbrella, or the covering, if you will, of God's mandates, which, lucky us, our founders kind of drew into this thing we call the Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
As long as we live under that umbrella, we're going to be covered. But it's the minute that stuff starts to lift.
Well, if you we've done it, we've talked about it before, that if you take that higher power out, God, something else is going to take his place.
That's right.
And it's the government that takes his place. So how about the 40 million people that say they're Christian, probably love this country, get out and vote.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Get out and vote.
Yeah.
And and I want to go back just a few minutes, because this is important. For you as a believer in Christ to feel the anxiety of an election season is not right. So first of all, we need to identify where anxiety comes from, because it's not from God. Fear is not from God. Fear of the Lord is from God, and that's much different than fear. But when these moments happen, and when I would counsel people that were dealing with things, I would tell them, my wife has this trick of writing scriptures on Post-it notes everywhere. And you can tell what season of life she's in by the amount of Post-it notes that she's written.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I've noticed.
Where does she post them?
Everywhere.
In the house, or
yes,
like
mirrors.
Okay.
The fridge, everywhere. And it's like, she's going through a rough patch, emotionally or whatever, because she's got encouraging scriptures everywhere.
Yeah.
Same token here. Post it. Put it all over your house. Put peace I leave with you. My peace I give you. Not the peace the world gives you.
Yeah.
Right? It's in John chapter 14, Psalms 55:22. Cast your burdens on the Lord. He'll sustain you. He is our sustainer. Of course, Philippians 4, which we talked about, be anxious for nothing. So you keep encouraging your heart, nurturing your heart with the word of God, and it will get rid of the fear and anxiety. It will, because it's the truth fighting your feelings, right? So, yeah, anyway, it is. I mean, I've heard people say, fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
If it works...
Fake it till you make it.
It's worked for thousands of years.
Yeah.
For millions of people who stand on the word of God and go, you know what? This is how I feel, but this is the truth. And I'm going to choose what you say, God, over how I'm feeling right now.
Yeah.
And so right now I'm feeling a little overwhelmed because we're having an election coming up. And I'm going to tell you, they're not going to give it to him.
No.
They've tried to kill him twice. Mm-hmm. Right? They've tried, and we're probably off for saying that.
Yeah, well, yeah, off YouTube.
But they're going to do everything they can to keep this from happening. And the October surprise is going to be whatever the October surprise is going to be. They're a little late at this point for it to break, but this is great.
The cheating, that'll definitely right now, 5 days from the election, this will definitely get us pulled off YouTube. But we're still on Rumble, so everybody on Rumble can watch freely. But
that's right.
Yeah, so they mistakenly aired the results of the presidential election showing Kamala winning in Pennsylvania with 52%. So this was flashed up in the middle of I think it was an Indy race, it might have been. But they've got that. We've got the, let's see, where was it?
What's going to be interesting, we're going to take note of that. And during the election, we're going to watch the numbers and see if that comes up.
See when 52% comes up.
Yeah, 3.3379 million, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is,
The Colorado Secretary of State, the same one who tried to remove Trump from the ballot, leaks the passwords to the voting systems online. And of course, she comes out and says that it's not that big of a security violation, we don't think. So whoever was able to get access to that system, what information they were able to get at,
Yep.
Who knows what the far-reaching implications of that are going to be. And then Donald Trump going out on the Joe Rogan podcast, which I'm sure everybody heard about, and it's still, by the way, I think at 40 million views.
Yeah,
You couldn't find it.
nope, and YouTube pulled it.
Yep.
And it's still at 4. And so what does he do? In his stroke of genius, he throws it up on X,
Yep.
and everybody can see it there.
Yep.
So head on over to X if you have not watched it. It's fascinating.
Oh, it was great.
It was great.
You know, for 78 years old, and that guy sitting down and having a 3-hour long form podcast.
And you know, it's not, you can tell just by their banter.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like scripted. It wasn't, I mean, sure, he had a roadmap and direct, you know, he had questions to ask,
Yeah.
but it wasn't like Trump was getting fed the answers.
Yeah.
It was
Oh,
very,
no. He doesn't need to be, because if you watch him on any of the long form podcasts, whether it was Theo Vaughn or Impulsive or any of these long form, you know, hour and a half, 2-hour long podcasts, he doesn't need a prompter.
right.
He can sit and he'll sit and just he'll sit and cook, as I like to say, you know.
Yep.
Just let the man cook.
Yep.
And he will work a crowd for 3-4 hours talking about anything and everything.
Which gets him into trouble.
It does, but it makes him relatable to people.
Totally relatable.
You know, and so that in and of itself, the fact he was able to sit down with Joe Rogan in that environment for 3 hours and then say, well, I got to go get to a rally and go do a 2-hour rally. And
78. Yeah.
78 years old. It's
Yeah.
the genes are ridiculous. So we can't buy into the lie is going to continue to be pushed. Oh, he's just too old. He's too old. He's not your average 78-year-old. I get it. 78 is old. Apologies to any 78-year-olds, but Donald Trump ain't an average 78-year-old.
I'm coming up on it though. I'm almost there.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I'm optimistic about the actual results, but I think that the number of hurdles we are going to see is far more. Whatever we thought happened in 2020, you could be okay with it or not.
Yeah.
It's going to be so much worse
Yeah.
in 2024 because it's starting the week of. I mean, we're in an election month now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is really what it is.
Well, that's what we were saying. We're going to go ahead and cast. And Ben just chimed in and said the man's built different. He's just built different.
Oh yeah.
You know.
I've got the notes up here.
And so, Trump is built different. He's built like a Mack truck.
Yeah.
You know, you still see those old Mack trucks on the road from the 70s with the flat front, you know, the ones them and Peter built.
Yeah.
I love that when I'm driving, you see the flat front and you're like, yes, I remember that.
Old school, baby.
Yeah.
You know, it always reminds me of Smokey and the Bandit.
Smokey and the Bandit
Oh yeah, the Snowman.
or Mad Max. For me, it's Mad Max. I
Okay.
go back to
Yeah.
Mad Max, but yeah, same. He is definitely built different. And, you know, he would never, people talk about how crass he is and everything. He would never confuse. He would never get up and confuse people. You know, when Biden got up and said, well, you know, Trump supporters are garbage.
Yeah.
He has never said anything about a people group like deplorables and, you know, like Hillary did. Trump's never said that. You can vote who you want to vote for.
Yeah.
You know, like it's okay. They're people.
He goes after the individuals.
He goes after the people and they do not like that.
No. Well, and he's not, he's not controlled, obviously.
Yeah.
I think that's their biggest beef with him because Kamala is the puppet and
Yeah.
they're working the strings and the donors work the strings and I guess they try to work the teleprompter, but she's not very good at reading them.
The donors being even her, she sleeps with one of the biggest ones.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you can't be more that in my mind, that should disqualify her from anything is the fact that her husband's on the board of the largest money machine ever known to man. They own everything.
Yeah.
They're into everything. BlackRock
Wait,
is
he's on the BlackRock board?
yeah.
Oh wow. I knew he had something to do with that mine in North Carolina, that he was a partial investor, but I didn't realize he was on the BlackRock board. Yeah, BlackRock is that's the money machine for a lot of the bad things happening in this country. Whether it's BlackRock or George Soros, obviously, but BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard. For everybody that doesn't know, that's the kind of the conglomerate of investment firms that are worth about $30 trillion, give or take a few trillion here and there, which is obviously more than our GDP for the United States. And they've got those assets under management, and they're pulling a lot of strings on a lot of nefarious things going on in America, but throughout the globe as well. So anyway, yeah, that should be a disqualifier. But You know,
I'm saying that, but now I got to look because if you didn't know it, I got to make sure I'm right.
yeah. I mean, there's going to be a tie somehow, right? I mean, there's such a symbiotic relationship between these kind of dark money entities and politics. It's almost it's like the 7 degrees from Kevin Bacon, right? I mean, you can, and it's probably 2 degrees from any politician. You are going to find one of these dark money groups. You don't have to go far because they hang out in their offices and they've got them on speed dial.
That's right.
And
That's right.
they, they're the ones filling up their bank accounts. So, or their campaign accounts, whatever it is. So yeah, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me in the least.
I'm getting there. Hold on a minute.
yeah.
He's heavily invested in BlackRock.
Okay, all right,
Yeah, and Vanguard.
yeah. Well, I can pull up this. Did you pull this one up to be funny?
No, but yes, because this is truth.
Right, this is true.
This is truth.
Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit on this one. Yeah, here. I think everybody can see it.
Yeah.
Let's pull it up.
Joel Berry, my brother-in-law sent me this from out in Colorado, and he was like, "This is so spot on." Me and the boys fighting another foreign war because white girls voted for warmongers so they could kill babies.
Yeah,
You got to sit back and take this all in
yeah,
and realize that what he's saying here is my body, my choice is taking precedence over issues that actually matter. How selfish are we as a society where that becomes a voting issue versus our boys going to war
yeah,
or our financial collapse or anything else? Like, well, no, see, I want to keep my body as my choice. And then Trump's going to make it so that I have to go to Mexico. Well, go to Mexico then.
yeah,
He's also going to make it so that we're out of the war. He's also going to make it so that, or whoever the candidate is. But this I hope gives people pause for a minute and you go, wait a minute. My body, my choice. How incredibly self-centered am I that I'm willing to ruin a nation and send our boys and girls to war
yeah.
so that I can decide whether a baby lives or dies.
And that sounds hyperbolic, but it is absolutely not.
It's not.
That's
100%. That's the fact.
Yeah.
How incredibly narrow-minded are you or self-centered are you that the whole world revolves around your rights to choose whether you can murder somebody or not?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. This is spot on.
Yeah.
This is spot on.
It really is. They've made this abortion has become this liberation issue, and it's not liberating anybody because the only end result is the death of an infant. I mean, it's the only end result of an abortion. There is no positive net.
But I mean,
gain
you're gonna. So you look at this and go, okay, it's okay to keep that as a right, but these guys are gonna go die.
Right. But it plays, but that the argument they use plays on human nature, humans' selfish nature.
Yeah, that's right. That's it.
Right. It's about your body, and it gets them to dehumanize and ignore the body, the life that's growing inside of them. And when it feeds on selfishness, it's a very easy thing for people to get behind if you start to take the moral side of it, right? Because you have to dehumanize in the first place. Otherwise, nobody's going to say, I need to go have this infant unalived, Right. I say unalived for the sake of YouTube. But you dehumanize it. You make it a separate entity. You use terminology like they use now, parasite. They say it's a parasite that's feeding off the mother. This is literally what they use. These college kids are using this term. So that's just the dehumanization. And then you feed on the selfish nature. It's about your body.
Yeah. It's all about,
Don't worry about what's happening.
It's me. Yeah. There's that whole acronym, SELF. Mm-hmm. Satan's exact location forever.
Ah, there you go. Wow. I've never heard that.
Because it's
pretty good.
Just how you operate. When you become self-centric, self-centered, everything's about me, my choice, my this, my that. You can no longer see the forest for the trees, not only in politics, but in life. People who are, well, I mean, you look at like those self-centered people. What's the word I'm looking for that starts with an N? It's the
narcissistic.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So narcissists hurt people.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Big time.
Big time.
So that kind of narcissism ends up with a ripple effect of just crushing souls, and you don't care because it's all about you. And so Satan loves that. He loves it because it's all, if you can take this, then you become, in this capacity, you become God. You become like God. Because I have the power to create, but I'm going to choose not life, right?
Now, do you think that things like, because we have a very narcissistic society, and social media plays a lot into that.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think that's, I think it's probably part of that whole, you want to put it into the terms of a cake, right? It's one of the many ingredients that kind of go into that cake. But we have started to create generations of narcissistic people focused entirely on themselves and what they can do, self-gratification, instant gratification.
Oh, yeah.
It is.
All of it.
Yeah.
It's all about me, and it's all about right now.
Yeah.
And I think...
Well, go ahead.
I think a lot of that stems, boy, we can go down this rabbit trail tonight, but we're not gonna.
Okay.
A lot of that stems from the feminist movement.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I mean, when you think about this, if you're teaching men to not think of women first, because we're not allowed, don't hold the door for her. Don't do this for her. Don't do the things that your dad used to say, get the door for her. Think of her first, women and children first. And we no longer say that as men. It's easy to become narcissistic when you're not told from an early age, think of the other person first. So they're no longer told that. It's never told, think of her first. Think of them first. We're only told it's all about me. We're only shown it's all about me. Movies, relationship, like everything. It's all me, and what I get. What do I get out of this?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that society, I think internet, social media, all of it has just fed this narrative and made it so incredibly easy that you no longer are looking at a human as a human. You're looking at as a parasite,
Yeah.
right?
Well, and it's happening even now in adulthood for adults, the dehumanizing of people because of their political beliefs. You can insult, you shouldn't, but people will insult someone, their intelligence or something like that. But oh gosh, you're voting for Bill Clinton, you're an idiot, or you're voting for George Bush, you're an idiot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That was the most extreme.
If you are voting for Clinton or Bush, you are an idiot because they're not on the ballot.
Well, no, I'm saying back then.
Yes,
that's the way that's the way it would be.
And
now,
today it's even worse.
Well, now the moral aspect, since the moral aspect of our politics has become, if you vote for the other person, you yourself are evil.
Yeah.
And you are supporting a fascist, you're supporting Hitler, even if you want to talk about Donald Trump.
Gosh, yeah.
And that's the difference really between conservatives and Democrats, because conservatives aren't necessarily innocent in the rhetoric, but we're saying, how in the world could you be so stupid as to vote for someone like this, right?
Right.
Like it's lunacy to vote for that person.
Right.
The other side says, if you vote for him, you are evil. You should be arrested. You should be
right.
It goes to those extremes.
That's a little different.
It's a little different,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so when that just shows me that our society is so morally confused that the only way to rectify this is to maybe have those 40,000 Christians vote and we start getting a little closer to God.
It needs to be overwhelming. It does.
Right. We need to change the temperature of politics.
And I think too, like our Muslim friends are doing, just get into politics just a little. If you're a believer in Christ, go for it. We need more believers in politics to make these changes.
Right. It's hard to undo the changes that we've already made in our society.
It's going to be really hard.
We're talking about the very moral fabric of our country needs to be seriously hemmed up.
Yep.
And who else is going to do that?
Right.
Sorry, but your average secular person isn't going to be doing it.
No, they're not. Even because they don't see it as a moral issue.
Right.
They see it mostly as a financial convenience. They look through a different lens than we as believers in Christ look through.
Yeah.
And so it becomes, this is something that, it's probably not good, but it makes things quicker, or it will make life easier, or in their world, it's equitable.
Right.
Like, oh, it's all about equity. And it's like, no, it's really not. It never has been.
No.
And
and equity, not to mention the method to get to what they consider equity, requires some things that are downright evil. I mean, it's wrong
Absolutely.
to steal, right? But the only way to get to
equity is to
steal
do
from
the
one
wrong
person,
thing.
right?
Yeah. So it's like you sit back and go, well, okay, do you want everybody to have lunch? Yes. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the concept of people getting things. There's nothing wrong with that, the bleeding heart liberal idea of the whole world should be even. I get what they're saying. It's not wrong to feel that way because you want what's better for your neighbor, right? You want, or for those less fortunate. Let's start, not your neighbor. You want what's best for those that are less fortunate than you. Bring them up to my level. Great. What you don't want, though, is for people to have it better than you do. Right? You don't want people to do better than you. Just maintain my level. You don't want people to excel or exceed you in that kind of a platform. So, I just find it fascinating that in the name of equity and everything else, they're willing and they're saying, forecasting, like, let's go ahead and take away from let's take away from people who have earned it and give to the less fortunate so that they can become like the people that have earned it now because we took it away. So we're even.
Right.
If that makes sense. It's going like this. Well, you're stealing from one to give to the other.
It's immoral to steal, even if you vote to steal.
That's exactly. Yeah.
So
That's right.
You can't say I'm going to take from you to give to somebody that I want to give it to.
I mean, you look at the equity, the airlines is a great example. The DEI hires and stuff, and how that's just kind of backfired on them. It seemed really good at the time, like really kind, really whatever. But you're actually taking jobs away from people who are qualified and have put their path on that. This is what I want to do. And you're giving them to people based solely on sex and race.
Yeah. Well, and that in and of itself, I mean, in order to bring equity, you have to institute some form of institutionalized racism which is what they say they're fighting against.
Sexism.
And sexism.
Right.
In order to bring about that equity. So they say, we're trying to fix racism with racism. We're trying to fix
sexism with sexism.
Right.
It's a giant ball of irony.
It's exactly
what it is, right? Because it's not working.
Right.
And so, yeah,
but this is, every time they try to divide people on these immutable characteristics and at these very basic levels, it never works because they have to, in order for all of this, because it is Marxism. I mean, let's get it down to what it actually is. A lot of this stuff that we are fighting against is Marxist at its core. And Marxism has to take away the very humanity that makes us who we are. You have to make everybody cookie cutter. And in order for a lot of the, when you talk politically, a lot of the Democrat policies, if you talk about equity or you're talking about the welfare system, you talk about whatever, redistribution of wealth and taxing the rich people, taxing those who have to give to those who don't. The only way for them to, same thing that Russia tried to do, you have to cut people down to the most basic level and that remove their very humanity from them in order to do that.
Yep, that's exactly right.
It's an immoral thing in general from start to finish. There you go.
I am trying to find where I read about Doug Emhoff still.
Oh, you're still trying to find that one? Yeah. Well, how about the folks that are watching? Y'all give us some comments. Like, do we think these poly markets are accurate? I tend to think they are because the polling is so weird. I was listening to it wasn't the famous pollster, the guy that always gets it wrong, worked for Fox News. What's his name?
You got me. Rasmussen?
No. Well, either way, they were talking about the people being polled, and a lot of the folks that are being polled are generally Republicans and conservatives. Is it respondents in that the way aren't respondents in these polls?
Mm-hmm.
So they're getting a lot of Democrats, they're getting a lot of independents, and the Republicans that they are getting are the ones that lean more towards the middle. So the George Bush Republicans and the Liz Cheney Republicans, and even with that distribution, they're still getting these even numbers. So you're getting the 49, 51, that sort of thing. But when you talk about the betting odds, these are people that have a lot of money on the line, and a lot of commentators, myself included, are going to that because when there's money on the line and there's, hundreds or billions or tens of millions or billions of dollars that are being bet on this, those guys, it serves them to be as accurate as possible with where stuff stands because that's the odds and what they're going to have to pay out.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So the other piece to this is not just with Donald Trump, but it is with the House. So the House and the Senate is up for grabs. There seems to be a lot of confidence in the Senate getting taken over, but the House it's like a coin flip for everybody. And so there's this roughly 50%. It's 46%. I've seen 50%, but a Republican sweep. I don't know. We'll see on that one. But the big question is going to be if this happens, if we get a clean sweep of the House, the Senate, the presidency.
Oh, it's on.
What are they going to do? Are they going, because there's a lot of very, very gutless people in the House and in the Senate. They're in purple areas that they're still Republicans, but they're in purple areas, and making any drastic changes is not going to sit well with the more moderate voters. I mean, I don't know. Donald Trump should be able to get a great deal done if that happens, but I'm not entirely confident that, I think the biggest changes are going to be done from the executive, from Donald Trump.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the fact that he's alluded to, he didn't know what he was doing the first term. Now he knows where to clean house.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's made that very clear.
He knows where to go in, and he knows he's going to go in and clean house. And we're talking about thousands of jobs.
Yeah.
If he goes in and does what he wants to do, he's going to drain the swamp like he said he was. And he kind of thought he did, I think, the first time around. But now I think it's like, oh, no, they're all against me.
Jim Jordan said this. It was actually today on the Patrick Bet-David podcast when he said, what does he do? He said, go in and fire everybody you can possibly fire.
Yeah.
And a couple people that you're not supposed to fire.
Yeah.
Make them take you to court and show them that there's a new sheriff in town. And I thought that's a really smart idea. Push the envelope and say, it's not that I'm just going to, push a few people out the door. I might catch some people I'm not supposed to because I'm so amped up about getting rid of all these folks that I can fire.
Yeah.
And if he does that, it sends a monstrous message.
It sends a huge message. It's a big it is a big shot across the bow.
Yeah.
That, you know what? The country is not okay the way it's been.
Yeah.
And this is what people are voting me in here for, because we are. I mean, I think you ask any American, you trust the government? What are the polls on that? 70%, something like.
13% it's 13% approval rating in Congress right now.
Okay, so we want to change. The American people want to change. You don't trust your government. It's time to change your government. Yeah. And if he's the guy that's going to go in there and get rid of him, then man, why not? Right?
It's another point I'll reference his interview again. Is a quote that he had, and he said, nobody likes Congress. Everybody likes their congressman.
Yeah.
Nobody likes the Senate. Everybody likes their senator.
That's right.
And so they love Matt Gaetz, or they love Jim Jordan, or they love Marjorie Taylor Greene, or they love whoever. I mean, just pick
senator or congressman, but
right, whoever it is. They like them, but the organization as a whole is broken. And so kind of wrangling that in is interesting. I mean, I think that a lot of these moderate folks, and like we were saying before, get the wrong people to do the right thing, make it politically profitable for the wrong people to do the right thing. The House has got to start using purse strings to stop some of this stuff. They've just stop funding it.
That's right. Just stop funding it.
Yeah. And again, I will go back to the 40 million Christians who don't vote. Hop out. You are a lot more powerful and potent than you think. And if Donald Trump wins the Electoral College and the popular vote because people are coming out, think of that message, because it's been a while
since that's happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Since the Republicans won.
And I mean, I know they're saying it's neck and neck. All the pollsters are like, oh, it's so close. And, she leads here by a point and he leads here by 2 points. But right now it's so volatile. It's got to be so challenging because you don't want to go out and say, I'm an insurrectionist. I believe, like, there's going to be a lot of people that are supporting Trump that aren't supporting Trump if you ask them.
Sure.
Because it's like, okay, we simply can't maintain what we've had for the past 4 years. I was telling my father this just day before yesterday. Like, Dad, I mean, my kids, I can't afford it. We can't afford it. If you got a family of 5 and you're middle class, it's been a real struggle.
Yeah.
you know, and we went from like, we're actually making it. This is working, you know, to my goodness, this is hard.
Yeah.
When milk's over $4 a gallon,
Yeah.
you know, like, good Lord, it used to be $1.98, you know, or whatever. So yeah, it's a challenge. And I think what we're seeing happening, and maybe this is God's sovereignty. Maybe this is God doing this, but with all of this stuff with P. Diddy coming out, right? The list. And, you know, I've seen multiple posts on Instagram about, you know, different celebrities leaving the country, basically going into hiding because the list is coming out where the affiliates are all listed. It's going to be really interesting to see. Number one, these people have had such a strong political opinion that I believe that they've influenced elections in the past and amped people. I mean, you know, we're not stupid. Americans are not stupid, but we kind of are. If you're in the echo chamber of having all these people you watch in movies and admire, and, you know, look how beautiful he or she is, you know, whatever, you kind of go, oh, maybe there is something to that. You know, maybe this person is bad. Maybe I should vote for the person they're voting for. And, you know, you listen to them because they got a voice. They don't have a clue.
Right.
They don't have a clue on politics. They don't have a clue on business. They don't have a clue. I mean, they're some of the stupidest people because they don't have to.
They play dress up for a living.
Exactly.
They make believe.
They pretend to be.
We did as a kid. I was G.I. Joe.
That's right.
I was a cowboy.
They get to do it for a living now.
They do the same thing and they make millions of dollars.
They make millions of dollars.
And I chose the wrong profession.
You know, playing make believe. But so this list is coming out, and the cockroaches are starting to scatter. Right. What maybe we're starting to see is this turnover, not only of our government, but of society as a whole.
Yeah.
Where, you know, I don't care what Leonardo DiCaprio says. He's a slime ball.
Yeah.
Right? I don't care what this person says. They're a slime ball because they're on the list. And you know, whatever happened to Epstein's list, I'd love that. These are the things that we want to know. And it's coming out. If Trump wins, it's coming out.
That's what he said.
That's what he said.
Epstein, JFK.
All of it's coming out.
Yep.
Because there's got to be stuff. And what does the word say? That our sin's going to be exposed, isn't it? Like, it's almost like this is, if this really happens, it's going to turn things upside down here for a minute. What we thought was good wasn't good. It was evil. Kind of shocking, right?
Yeah.
But we have a potential for a complete turnaround and probably a major upheaval in society. I want to say this because next week we're together doing the multi-stream. If this election looks like it's going the way that most believers hope it goes, I'm supposed to get on a plane a couple days after that and go to Colorado to see my sister, maybe, right? Do I go?
Sure. Yeah. Don't.
It's going to be a dumpster fire.
Oh, well, in Colorado.
Well, in every major city, everywhere you look, right?
Yeah.
So
that, you know, that's a conversation a lot of people are having. They're saying that regardless of what happens, there's going to be upheaval.
Yeah.
I think it's only if it goes one way.
Only if it goes one way.
There will be demonstrations if it goes.
There'll be a lot of
I don't agree
anger,
with. Yeah.
disappointment, frustration. I mean, but if they keep blowing up ballot boxes in Oregon and Washington, right? They're eating their own at that point, because those kind of people, those are not on the right. Literally, they're not on the right. They're not right. They're not on the right. Those are the extreme left that are, you know, so burning their own ballots who are voting for the person that they want. It's irony at its finest to me. Like, really? You're going to go blow up?
You can blow up all. You can get rid of all the Kamala Harris ballots.
Yeah, go ahead and blow up every blow up every ballot box you want in Oregon and Washington. You know.
Yeah.
But in California too, for that matter.
Yeah.
So, I do to round out tonight, I did vote. I'm really thankful that I had to show my ID.
Oh, me too. I did today.
I do not understand why that's an issue.
Yeah.
And I just, I would, if I was in a state that didn't require it, I would show it anyway. I'd be like, I don't care. Here it is.
Right.
Everybody here in this line's got one. And if they don't, they probably shouldn't be voting.
You will take my ID, good sir.
Yeah. Scan it. Let them know I was here,
I want to be on the record with this vote.
That's right. That's right. Well, it is 10:02. Again, don't let this season of stress get to you. Be anxious for nothing. That's the word. Be anxious for nothing. And so when you feel that anxiety coming on, just focus on what God says, not what you're feeling, and realize that he's got this. The God who holds the waters of the earth in the palm of his hands knows your name, knows the hairs on your head, has promises, has spoken over you since before you were formed in your mother's womb. He put you there. We go right back into the abortion argument, right? It was God who put you there. Mm-hmm. He knit you together. And, we believe that if you stand on his promises, listen to his word, let that get into your heart, that a lot of the anxiety and the stress that you feel this season it'll diminish, if not go away completely, because he's got it. No matter what, he's got it. And he's got you. He's got me. So that's it for this week. Till next week. Keep your eyes to the sky. Our King is returning. He's coming. Maybe before next week. And if not, definitely after next week. But yeah, we just keep plugging away and vote.
Yes.
Vote. Tell your friends to vote. Drag people out to vote. And do your duty. It's a privilege and a right. It's one of those things that is both.
Yeah.
It's a right and it's a privilege to be able to go out and cast a ballot for principles and things that you believe in, that God has said. So find the candidates. They're not going to be perfect. None of them are. They're human. But find the ones that most align with your values, which hopefully align with his values. That's how you vote. So
that's it.
Till next week, braver than the rest. And yeah, next week is a special.
Yep, we'll be doing a simulcast, so we'll have it'll be on the same. So if you want to go, if you're at Braver Than the Rest, just come to Braver Than the Rest. But
right.
We'll be going out to multiple channels all across the interwebs.
Do you want to do that at what time? Do you want to start when the polls close on the East Coast?
Yeah,
because it's gonna be a long night.
Yeah, it will be a long night. We'll see how many hours we can get through. Okay. We'll see. Well, let's let me do I haven't figured out the exact time that I want to, but yeah, we'll figure that out. We'll have it posted and we'll let everybody know.
Sounds good. We'll keep you all posted. Thanks for tuning in. Bless you.